Please like and subscribe to help us spread TIPA's positive approach message around the world.
Hey, you guys, welcome to Live at 5 on this weird week. Hey, everybody, I'm Beth, and we have Alejandro and Shelley here. I once had a friend one time, or actually it was one of my students, who told me we were talking about favorite holidays, and I knew she was Jewish growing up, and then still practicing as an adult. And we said, what's your favorite holiday? And she said, Christmas. And I said, oh. And she said, it's the one day a year where nothing is expected of me. The stores are all closed. The family's not asking me to come over. You can't call anybody. She goes, I love Christmas. And that really just floored me. So I was curious, you guys, this time of year, everything's a little bit off. I'm curious for you guys, even if you're at a good place in your life, how does that sound for you guys? What sorts of memories? I'm watching your head shake already, Alejandro. What does that idea of distress and everything bring to mind for you, and finding how things are weird and off?
Well, yeah, you brought up weird and off and an off week. And for me this morning, I was at Home Depot at 7 in the morning, which is for me really weird and very off, because I don't even like to be awake at 7 in the morning if I don't have to, let alone fully dressed and like out amongst people. Peopling. Yeah. So for me, it's almost like I'm thinking of if you brought the word stress, if I'm stressed, it probably for me manifests in doing things that are uncomfortable, and that I don't normally do, whether it's because I need to, or it's because I'm trying to meet someone else's need. I think those cause stress for me sometimes.
Yeah, and in a week like this, it really is, everything's off, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's different because I'm super busy normally on this off week with church because I'm a musician.
So while that does bring you pleasure and joy.
But it also brings me a level of stress because I have, instead of, just Christmas Eve, which would be fun for most people, we normally have 4 services and all kinds of things. And this year the stress is we have 2 services with masks while we're singing and trying to do things. Yeah. So there's a lot of anxiety I just feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to enjoy the moment when I'm in it, but the thinking about it is kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And this is good. 3 individuals with, we think, relatively healthy brains. But when our schedules get off, when things just get a little off, we have ways in which we can either rationalize it, we can manage pain, we can manage in the moment, even recognize when our acute distress, or maybe it's not so acute, maybe it's just mild distress, is actually starting to distress others. And we're not able to get to the place where we're meeting our own and others' needs. What happens on these off weeks if, let's say, your resiliency, your brain health, your whatever is going on in your life really robs you of a lot of those abilities? How do you possibly manage in the moment to think about that? How is that similar or different to what we're talking about in terms of the way that we manage our own distress and are able to?
I would say, Beth, I think for me, the moments where I am managing my stress, because I'm such a strong introvert at times, is getting myself to reach out and ask for a hand, ask for help, ask for, could I have you do this for me? When innately my being tells me, yeah, fold my arms and sit back, and you know what, I want to retreat inward, because that's what my normal instinct is. So if I'm not recognizing, if someone is recognizing I'm not reaching out and they think something may be happening, if I am more introverted than normal, then it's a good sign that I probably am yeah, I have some stress or I'm feeling something different.
Wow, what a great conversation to have with our loved ones as we head into what may be an even more stressful weekend. So people in Facebook, it's funny that we're talking about distress and icky and uncomfortable and, in this week of holidays, but this is when we get off our schedules. It's when it's when our comfort is when our routines, no matter how much we like novel and we love the holidays, really when it can start to affect us. So interestingly enough, this idea of figuring out when things are so distressed. So if you are in that place where your world is now this small, you are either in changing brain for yourself due to a disease-based process like dementia, or you're with someone who is at that place where your world has become smaller and smaller. This idea of how is it that I can look forward and find that perspective? So thinking about this in terms of unmet needs, we talk about the unmet needs all the time. Mm-hmm. This 5 signs of emotional distress tend to be the ones that come out the fastest. But if we can figure out those 5 physical unmet needs, we're talking about real basic stuff, guys. If you haven't heard of these before, it's intake, it's medication. It really is about too much energy or looking like I have too much energy when I'm actually exhausted or I'm sleeping, I'm just crashing. It's elimination or the regulation thereof, the management of the distress around not being able to. And it is actually as well physically being uncomfortable or actual pain. So these ones, they can actually show up as anger, as sadness, as loneliness, isolation, all those signs of distress that can actually cover up and what we think are. So that may be a place. If you are literally at that moment where you're like, I don't know what to do with my mom. I just, the centers closed this week. And if it's one more moment where she asked me that question the 30th time, where do you start? Right. Those 5 physical unmet needs, start checking those off, seeing if maybe those may be the place to go when all I'm seeing is this, and I can't figure out how to help you, Mom.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, but I know you brought up about the holidays and, maybe the stress is coming from the care partner I'm working with being off their schedule. But sometimes I think it's also outside forces, right? Of people who aren't in this care partnership frequently, who are wanting something during this week or these few special days coming up where I think we get a sense as care partners that that's not what we normally do. That's not our normal. Yeah. And for both parties, I think it can feel like a tug of war almost. And it gets so stressful to try to fit in what is probably helpful for the person you partner with daily into this thing that is very much unique and a one-off, far from what you would normally do. So
yeah, because I also think about the you were saying about stress of others. Where I get stressed during this holiday time is in stores, because the people that are stressed, waiting till the last minute to do stuff when I'm just doing my normal thing, and I'm thinking, could it be the same for someone with dementia? They're just trying to do their normal thing, and all these people around them are doing something different. And so, that might cause us to do something.
I love it. So, this idea, if this is something you're listening to and you're able to take the time to be here with us, or maybe you're listening to this at midnight tonight or something, or wherever you are when you're finally watching this, I'm curious about knowing what capacity you have, knowing what self-assessment accuracy you have, thinking about the things that Alejandro has said, thinking about what are your triggers, like Shelley has said. Mm-hmm. Can you look forward to those moments when you've got a little bit more, and how you might be able to reach out, how you might call that friend who means well and is constantly texting, and you say, hey, I'm at a great place right now. I might be able to say, I love it when you text this. This is when I start to get distressed, and I really actually could use your help. Starting to figure out ahead of time, sounds like, where we can communicate our needs, so then we have just that little bit more. I think this comes a lot of times when you see families and young children, especially infants, How is it that we take those things that we've already learned that we did as parents and maybe apply them later on? And Shelley, it sounds like somebody.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, yeah, Marty was talking about the fact that they had company over Friday night. And so her husband, he loves the company, but at one point he took off out the door to go talk to somebody about parking. And the last time she saw this was when there was a tornado in their area. Okay. So it's a great reminder for her to watch his levels as well, his stress levels, as well as they have more people. And then Brenda also said, yeah, part of during the holidays is people come to visit mom who haven't seen her in a long time. And that may stress her.
Yeah. This idea, this partnership is everything, isn't it? Knowing your person and being able to communicate. Alejandro?
I mean, I was just thinking this intimate care partner relationship that we have, I will say, I think sometimes we take things that we know for granted, which is really tricky because sometimes we know more than we realize. We do things that we don't think of because it's become so automatic. And the idea of sharing a bit more of that out with people who are going to be in for these stretches of times that are a bit unusual for us to be, in groups of people with, or in different settings with, because that it's something we do, it becomes really natural. It's super easy to put that on, but for other people, the cues and noticings that we have, like, oh, someone walked out the door, that is really a big deal.
Yeah.
But if I don't let other people know that, then they have no idea that it's a big deal,
right?
Or why I'm stressed, or why I'm considering leaving.
Here's what I'd love you to watch for. Here's what I'd love you to see. And maybe, guys, it just comes down to basics. So all the PAC tips and tricks that we talk about, knowing and recognizing that if you're not living with dementia, all those things really do and can affect anyone, any brain, no matter where we are. And if our brains are in distress due to stress, then maybe something like rhythmic, something about decreasing noise, something about decreasing lights, all those basics that we try to see about our environment, our sensations, our surfaces, all of those places where we can start to set ourselves up for success may be the first place to go to. And I will say this, some of the best advice I got as a parent was nothing lasts longer than 2 weeks. Sleeping patterns, everything. So please know that the Christmas holiday season in 2 weeks, and maybe this is a good thing, is actually going to be done.
Right. Marty just said she thinks recognizing our own stress as care partners is sometimes harder than recognizing that of our loved ones. And so she said, we're all helping her do better with that.
Yeah, giving ourselves a little grace in this holiday season is probably a great place to be, Marty. It's a great point. Well, we're hoping that, in fact, given the fact that we've got a bunch of ideas, we've got a bunch of things, we refer to things like the unmet needs on a lot of other of our YouTube events, the Live at 5, as well as the stuff, even better, the TIPA for 10 that show up here. What we're doing is we're taking and starting to gather a whole bunch of this great content and make it searchable, make it where you can find the deeper and richer content from TikTok. And we're actually starting to pull that all together on our YouTube. So whenever you find yourself having those moments where you can take a little bit more, or you just want to hear from a bunch of people that just, man, we respect the heck out of what you're doing and know how hard it is, whether you're the person living with dementia or not, is all of us living with dementia. We'd love for you to join our YouTube subscription. And if that's not a possibility, even that following that link that Shelley's going to put in there is not something you want to do, that's one step too far. Join us here, scroll on down. You'll be able to find lots more little bits and tips and tricks like this.
Yeah. And I was just going to say the subscription level has 4 or 5 levels.
Perfect.
Okay. So
for everybody,
you can just kind of go in and check it out. We're doing a whole lot of new things with that. So there's new content's being added every day. I did 5 yesterday.
Well, let's do what every toddler does. The first time they see the lights on the holiday season, wherever they are, just go, wow. And that deep breath alone begins to change your brain health.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves.